Yo, what's up guys? I wanted to show you the ninth round of this exhibition season of the FIA Gran Turismo Nations Cup. As you can see, this is already another strong lobby, again. I think this was also the third slot, or basically the last slot of the Nations Cup slot yesterday. And I was also doing every single slot too, because yesterday I was literally just starting to practice for this race, because I've been ill since last week Wednesday. But I also wanted to try and improve my weakest score, which I got from the Interlagos race, I believe. But yeah, what I was doing here was immediately going to the points table. Oh, yeah, I just misclicked it there. But yeah, as you can see in a few seconds, this is another 3000 lobby again. And yeah, my goal for this race was pretty much just trying to get as many points as possible. And just trying to improve my weakest points, actually, which was like 2500 points. But yeah, and let me show you my qualifying lap. So here we go, this is my final qualifying lap of the qualifying session we had. On the qualifying session basically. As you can see, I tried not to be within the slipstream range of Matthew Thomas ahead of me, because I just didn't want to get dirty air on sector 2 as well as on sector 3, because this car was understeering so much. As for turn 1, you basically needed to run as wide as possible to get as much speed as possible for the uphill section there. And yeah, that leads for a better sector time. And yeah, as you can also see there, the first sector was pretty on point. And then I also caught up to Thomas ahead of me. And yeah, on the downhill part of this back straight basically, I was also braking a little bit earlier than I would have in the end, because I didn't know if Thomas is going to brake earlier or not, and I didn't want to, let's say, crash into him. But yeah, from here now on it was, I think, also a pretty good sector time, I think. Also thanks to the slipstream I had a little bit, but yeah. Also for the, yeah, what else? Yeah, this car was also a little bit, how do you say it, a car choice which you could have chosen in the end, because it has a pretty good top speed, or basically a pretty good acceleration, but its tire wear as well as its handling isn't that superior, or not superior, isn't as good as the other cars like the Atenza 911, the M6, or even the Huracan here. And yeah, for some reason I ended up on pole position there, which I've never expected, to be honest, because this was basically, or pretty much, the fastest lap time I've done throughout the entire session I did yesterday, like including the public lobbies as well as the FIA races. Also, shout out to Carlster finishing on second place there on the qualifying session. He did a pretty superb job by choosing the Huracan for this race. And yeah, let's jump over to the race, shall we? So here we are, the race is about to start in a short time, after we are going to go through for the entire grid position here. As for P1, it's me, surprisingly. On second place we got Carlster with the Lamborghini, again superb job. On third place Koke, also doing a pretty good job with the Atenza. On 4th place, Key, which was driving really great yesterday. On 5th place, Matthew Collin, also fantastic. On 6th place, Richifix. On 7th place, Kuvaros. On 8th place, we got Jomas with the R8. I was also thinking about choosing the R8 to be honest, but yeah. 9th place, we got my teammate Brandon Rodri. On 10th place, Nisman. Then on 11th place, we have RC Mura. On 12th place, it is ESR Trosgas. I hope I spelled that correctly. On 13th place, we got Force. On 14th place, Thomas. Again, thank you. On 15th place, we got Musidi. Then on 16th place, we got ERT Berlin. Then on 17th place, we got Firestorm. I was really surprised seeing him choosing the GTR to be honest, but yeah, it was nice. On 18th place, Giorgio. On 19th place, Titchney. Then on 20th place, me against you with the AMG. Woohoo! Yes. Okay. I mean, as for this race, this was pretty much the last opportunity we had yesterday to try and improve our score in the end, because this was the last lot, as I mentioned earlier. And yeah, basically, me starting at pole position, my main goal was basically just trying not to get a single penalty as possible, because at this track you could have got easily a penalty at turn 1 and somewhere at sector 2 too, and basically on the last corners. But here at turn 1, I mean, the trick of not getting a penalty in the end was basically just trying to get your first 2 left wheels of your car outside of the track limits first, because if your front 2 tires leaves the white line first, then you will be getting a penalty in the end. That's a little bit weird, and you can basically, I couldn't do it consistently in the end, but that's how the trick worked in the end. And yeah, as for the qualifying, I needed to go for the maximum risk. Yeah, here I was getting a little punched by Kolzer here. I think he didn't, let's say, realize the the bad braking ability of the GTR there. I was pretty much surprised seeing me braking there really early. But yeah, as for the first lap, your tires are pretty much cold and not also on the temperature, and therefore not having enough grip as you were basically usually driving on a normal race basically. But yeah, as for this one here, I was pretty much just trying to stay within the track limits, within the white line, and yeah, just hoping of not getting a penalty here. For example, at this turn 1 here, I was really just trying to not run as wide as possible, unlike the other guys who did it behind of me. But yeah, there also another strength of choosing the GTR in the end was basically its insane acceleration. I mean, okay, its braking ability isn't as great as the other cars, for example, or let's say it is the worst car when it comes down to braking ability. But if you wanna, let's say, just try to overtake this car on a straight line, it's almost impossible, even with the Huracan, because until the GTR hits the 6th gear, it's pretty much the fastest car overall because of its acceleration. As for this upcoming corners here, I really try to be as smooth as possible. Also with the braking a little bit, just trying to brake at around 50%, I believe, of just trying to avoid the understeering there and just trying to flow the car into the corners here. Also, I also needed to look after my fuel consumption, as let's say if I would be running with the same aggressivity as for the qualifying session, for example, just trying to shift up to the next gear by hitting the limiter, then I would have run out of fuel, I think 1 lap or 2 laps earlier. So I needed to shift up or short shift earlier than I used to on the qualifying. No, I'm sorry. For this race I need to short shift a lot earlier because of the fuel consumption. But also as for the tire wear of this car, it is, if you want to drive with it pretty aggressively, then it's kind of like not the best car to choose in the end, or not the optimal car, because the front tires are going to run out pretty quickly in the end. And as for this race, a one-stop strategy was the best strategy to go for till the end, because it was basically the fastest. That's it. Because also Tichney told in his stream, I believe, that there were a lot of guys just trying out a zero strategy, and in the end there were a lot of they were quite slower than the guys just choosing the one-stop strategy there. And yeah, but as for this car, if you are quite smooth with the handling, or just let's say with the driving of this car, or just trying not to drive as aggressive as you would normally do on the qualifying session, then in my opinion the GTR is pretty manageable in terms of tire wear, at least. And also I think quite lucky that Costa was a little bit behind of me, because the Huracan is known as for its, let's say, instability, like especially in terms of tire wear. So if he was able to hold up a little bit for us there, then I was able to look after my own race, just trying to manage my own tire wear, my fuel consumption, as well as just try not to do any single mistakes at all, like running wide and getting a penalty there, for example. But yeah, as for the penalties, for example, if you get a penalty, for example, on the right hand side of this curb here, if you extend this curb here with all of your 4 wheels, I believe, you'll be getting a penalty here, as well as here on this curb here. And yeah, I mean, you should really just try to avoid any single penalties here. Also, for example, here on the left hand side, if you extend it at this curb here way too much, or for example on the left hand side again, then you'll be getting another penalty too. And if you would be serving your penalty at this track, there are like 2 penalty zones where you can get rid of your penalty. It's like the back straight when you're driving downhill after the sector 1, and as you saw in a few seconds ago, the short straight line right before entering the pit lane. And if you would be getting or if you need to, let's say, serve your penalty there, then you will be losing, let's say, a lot of time in the end, and all of the guys just right behind of you would be overtaking you in the end, and you will pretty much just try to avoid that because you don't want to get stuck behind of the traffic in the end. And yeah, as for the lap times, I think on the second lap I was a little bit too let's say too comfortable, because I just tried not to get a single penalty there, and I needed to adapt myself for that. But as for the rest of the upcoming laps, I was pretty much having a pretty good race, a pretty good pace also overall, because I was, again, just as I mentioned earlier, adapting myself very quickly with the way of driving I needed to in order to avoid any single penalty there. But yeah, as for the strategy, again, you could have pitted either at the end of this lap for making a superb undercut strategy, but you needed to sacrifice a lot on the last 2 or 3 laps of this race, basically because of your worn tires. Then the other opportunity was pitting at the end of lap 7, which I did, and which I and most of the other guys did in the end. And then the last opportunity was pitting at the end of lap 8 and just trying to have the better tires in the end of the race or in the end of the second stint. But again, this track is also not easy to overtake some of the other guys, even if you have the slipstream. If you have a GTR, then it's a lot more easier to say it at least. But for example, if you have the Porsche and you want to overtake a Huracan, for example, then it's a little bit hard to say it at least. But yeah, I mean, as for this race, I think that's basically it. I'm also not going to say the result of this race because I don't want to get any comments saying like, oh, congratulations for another victory, even though I haven't watched your video yet. So yeah, I'm going to leave this one. I think I've pretty much said everything which I needed to say at least. And yeah, it was pretty much nice to drive the GTR again after such a long time. I think the last time I drove the GTR seriously was the World Finals actually. So yeah, I mean, I think I'll torture my car choice again. It was just the insane speed overall. It was like at sector 1 it was pretty much the best car overall, but on sector 2 it was pretty much struggling with understeering as well as with the cornering speed, unlike the other cars had. And as for sector 3 it was alright. But yeah, also for example, even if you hadn't had any great pace at all, this car was basically the defense car to say it at least, because as I said earlier, it's the best car in terms of acceleration. And there's no other car being able to overtake the GTR till it hits the 6th gear. Because yeah, when this car reaches the 6th gear, it was struggling a lot. Not a lot, but it's kind of like losing its acceleration power, to say it at least. But yeah, here's the pit stop. Just trying to have a good pit stop here. But yeah, I think I said everything which I wanted to say at least, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm always happy to see a lot of guys watching my videos, and I hope I will see you guys in the next time soon. Cheers guys!